we think there's an ecosystem of integration points between vendors like a Motorola, carrier providers like Verizon, and an intersection of state and local government to provide solutions, not only for public safety, but public safety and beyond, and see where we can create value add, not only for our first responders, but for our state and local governments across the board. So the first thing I wanted to chat a little bit about was what does it take to implement a private LTE network? So Motorola Solutions, as many of you know, have been sort of the industry leader in RF communications, so land mobile radio for state and local government and federal government. So taking the next step is to really move into broadband. And what does that mean? That means taking a commercial grade solution that we all know and love and creating it for a state and local environment in a private setting. So up here we have some of the things we need to consider when we're looking at a private network. Several of the items here, we'll dive into a few of them, but the real key here is to look at how you're going to implement a solution that meets requirements. So here, obviously in Texas, we have a situation with wildfires. Well, we can implement a private network that supports video surveillance to really keep a safe distance, but an eye on what's happening in these wildfires from a video surveillance perspective. So I have some items up here that you need to think about when implementing a network, but really what you need to do ahead of that is look at your requirements. So when we go into a state and local government, for example, one of the situations we've seen where we have incidents in schools all over the country. And unfortunately, our first responders come to a school when they respond to an event, and obviously all the children in the school, they look alike, they fit the same profile. So we can't identify who our suspect is in the school when we're on the outside preparing our response to go into the school. So one of the situations we've gotten into, or one of the opportunities that this technology brings, is it allows us to really integrate video surveillance from all of our municipal localities, right? Whether it's schools, whether it's state capitol buildings, whether it's Department of Transportation, whether it's buses. But really take a video surveillance feed from inside of a school that's connected to a private LTE network and display the video surveillance feed that's coming out of that school live on a first responder's dash-mounted laptop when he or she arrives at the scene. Allows us to identify suspects, allows us to respond in a lot more efficient manner. So when we talk about private LTE, we're really looking at what are the business challenges that we have today that we technically can't solve without a private system. So the concept here is to really integrate a private system and a carrier system to allow interaction, not only give you local coverage and roaming, but basically nationwide enablement. So that means from a single device, you'll have nationwide coverage, whether you're on a private public safety system from Motorola or other, into the nationwide Verizon wireless network, both for LTE, 4G to 4G, and then also for legacy technologies, 3G and 2G as well, and CDMA, to roam into those networks with the same device that you have on your private system. So we talk about deploying in standards. So we think it's very, very important that our state and local governments deploy a standards-based technology. So Motorola is leading that standards evolution with an organization that you call the 3GPP. Actually, Motorola represents public safety's interest in the 3GPP standard-setting body. So we think standards are obviously very important because that enables interoperability. It enables a large pool of developers that can bring devices and applications to bear for this market. So one of the things that allows us to do is create value add on top of a network infrastructure. So if we look at LTE for public safety, but maintaining standards, we have to do things like make sure we have hardened and ruggedized devices. So when our firefighters are moving in to fight the wildfires, we want to make sure that they have a PDA that's hardened, that's weatherized, that's secure, that's not going to melt as they get close to the fire. And that PDA might be monitoring their heart rate, their CO2, their oxygen level, and piping it back to a command center. They may be sending live video from the fire back into the command center. So we really need to take advantage of a hardened, ruggedized device portfolio. When we talk about priority of service, right, there's standard priority of service within the standard 3GPP LTE. So Motorola is utilizing that standard 3GPP LTE quality of service classes, but we're putting an interface on that to allow you to do things more dynamically. So as that firefighter is moving in to fight the blaze, we may dynamically take his or her priority up and down depending upon the situation they're responding to. And we'll get into how we kind of break down that priority in a few. And then finally, The fact that we're going down a standards path, it's allowing us to get to an interoperability state where we're allowing voice communications from a P25 LMR network to interoperate with voice communications on a traditional LTE network. So what does that mean? That means somebody with a PDA on the LTE system can do non-mission critical push-to-talk into the LMR system. So we're really getting to a convergence across multiple technologies for state and local government with LTE. So why is standards compliance important? We talked about interoperability 3G to 4G, not only with public safety networks to public safety networks, but also public safety networks to commercial carriers. Drives global economies of scale. We know that in state and local government, we've been clamoring for getting on the commercial carrier path of technology. What does that do? Us as consumers, the thing we do best is we drive prices down. Well, getting on that commercial path of technology is going to allow state and local government to take advantage of that price decrease and competitive nature in this market. So we think that's really important from a standards perspective. And then last but not least, field-tested performance. These commercial cellular networks have been deployed, as you guys all know, across the globe. Our partner Verizon Wireless is a leading provider here in the States, but really across the globe. So we're taking that same proven, tested technology, hardening it, making it more secure, adding features to it, and making it available for state and local government.